Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today's video is about EB01 that's just a couple of days from release here in the US. And I want to talk about some of the cards that I think are going to be like the most valuable in the set. And valuable in terms of like I think the card, if I think the card is like going to be good competitively, so it's going to fit in a lot of different decks, so that's why the card's probably going to be worth a lot. Or cards that I think feature like loved characters with special artwork that I think is gonna make the card just overall like worth something. And so I just want to make a video about that. Cards that I think are gonna be good long term, so getting them now might be better than waiting, kind of getting them in the future where prices might go higher. And again, this is all kind of speculation, so it could go higher, it could go low. It's just like stocks, One Piece stocks. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Sit back, relax, and like and subscribe. Okay, first we're gonna start with some low-hanging fruit here. We're gonna start with Chopper being one of the most valuable that's gonna be in this set, simply because it has the manga art version. Every set has a manga, and even though EB01 is kind of like a small set compared to, or a mini set, right? It's still gonna have a manga, and it's Tony Chopper. And just the fact that it's manga, and two, because everybody loves Chopper, you can guess, people are gonna, Chopper lovers are gonna dig into their pockets and want to buy this. Manga collectors are gonna want this, Straw Hat collectors are gonna want this. So even though Chopper, or this card in specific, this blocker Chopper is probably not like the most competitive card out there, just the fact that it has a manga version, a lot of people are gonna want this card. So this is definitely one of my most valuable, top 10 valuable cards in this set. Okay, so the second card that's going to be very valuable in this set is Mr. 2. And this card is a staple in any purple deck, and I'll tell you why. It is an on play, you ramp up one, and the card is the Dawn that you ramp is active, right? And when this card attacks, you can choose a character, and it gains that much, has the same base power. So let's say there's a Big Mom, a 10 cost Big Mom, and a Bonkle. You can attack, choose Big Mom, and it attacks for 12k. That is super good. So this card lets you ramp, and its power is based on whatever character that you choose that's the strongest on your opponent's side. So that is just very good. And just the fact that its abilities are not leader locked means that, again, this card is going to be a staple for a lot of purple decks. And also, Bandai really knows what they're doing in this one, because it has the alternate art for this card is Nami. So this card just hits like all the bullet points, honestly. It's a good card competitively. It has a Nami alternate art. So you're going to have people who are competitive wanting to buy this card. We're going to have Nami lovers, who just want to collect every possible Nami card with special art out there. This card has it, and it's a secret rare. So all of those 3 points combined, you can totally bet that this card is going to be one of the most sought after cards in this set. So the next card that I think is going to be very valuable in this set, and just keep in mind, these are not in any particular order, okay? But this card, Flampe, is a yellow card that I think is actually pretty staple now in a lot of yellow decks, for several reasons. First is that it's a 2k counter, so that's very good. And I like these kind of 2k counters that have really good abilities where you can choose to either keep it in your hand for defense, or play the card and get their effect. And Flampe's effect lets you kind of draw a card and also get a card from your life. So essentially, for one cost, you're getting 2 cards. One is from your life, but for yellow, a lot of the times you kind of want to self-inflict damage on themselves, especially if you're like Black Yellow Luffy, where you want to get to 0 life. Or if you're like Enel, also this card's really good in Enel because um, Enel really lacks a lot of draw, and so just the fact that you're kind of damaging yourself, which isn't a big problem, but also drawing um, a card from your deck is just really good. So you get two cards in your hand for one. Um, for one card, and it costs only one. So all of that makes Flampe, I think, a very valuable card competitively from EB01. So going on in future sets, this card is going to be, uh, you know, it's going to be one of the like, Yellow has a lot of really good 2K counters out there with good abilities, and Flampe is just going to be another one. So very, very good card. I would definitely get, a playset of these. Okay, continuing on with like really good 2K counters, I think TBone is going to be another one of those 2K counters that are just going to be a staple, specifically for like Black Navy decks. So TBone has a lot of good things going for it. It's pretty much the ultimate replacement for, oh, I forgot the name of that card. Virgo, yeah, that's the name. So right now you use Virgo because it's a 5 cost 2K. So it means you can get it from your trash back into your hand using Rebecca. Now, T-Bone has the same stat lines. 5 cost, 2K counter, but it just gets even better. It has the same tag, which is Navy, which Virgo was. So Virgo was searchable with brand new. T-Bone is also going to be searchable with brand new. But I think T-Bone's ability makes it better than running Virgo simply because you can use this card in just more flexible because you can KO a 2 cost or less with T-Bone. With Virgo, you can't. There is no on play ability. Not to say that his ability of like not being able to KO is not bad, but just the fact that the meta has evolved where strong on play abilities are just too good. And I think just the fact that T-Bone hits all of the spots that Virgo hit, plus it can KO something if you really need to. Like if you're out of removal but you have this T-Bone, it's just an extra removal option in the deck that has so many removal. That's why T-Bone is going to be the Virgo replacement going forward for any black deck that is going to run like the Navy archetype. So we have Sakazuki, obviously. That's going to be gone, though, in about a month and a half. But you can bet they're going to run T-Bone. You can have other black cards that have a Navy core, potentially Moria. T-Bone is a good fit as well. So, yeah, this is another really good 2K counter that in the future is going to maintain a really strong position in specifically this one in Navy decks. So it's going to be a very valuable card in EB01. Kid and Killer. So if you've been playing on the sim and have been queuing up into just a lot of Red Purple Law, you can thank Kid and Killer for that, because this card is just a really aggressive card that's just so good, especially in Red Purple Law. Red Purple Law is just getting so good. It's just getting better and better each set. And they finally get this card that lets them just be super aggressive. It's a 4 cost, which works with Red Purple Law's ability, so they can play it. And then if your opponent is at 2 life or less, it gains 2,000 attack. So you're swinging for 7K, in the mid to late game with this card. And if you're a Red Purple Law, that means you can use all of your Dawn, and then at the end, -3 play Kid and Killer and swing an extra time for 7K. It's insane. I'm sure there's going to be other very aggressive decks that are also going to be running Kid and Killer. That's just how good this card is. But especially in Red Purple Law, I think they're the deck that just utilize this card the most, or the best, and the most efficiently for sure. But yeah, this card is going to be you know, it's a very aggressive stat line that fits red, the very red aggro theme perfectly. And so I think, just going past red purple law, other decks are gonna find use for this, especially 4 cost cards. Like 4 cost is such an important, what's the word, like card cost, because lots of cards interact with like 4 cost. So it's just good. This card is just really good overall, and it's going to be very valuable in the future and even now. Okay, so definitely a really good card to keep your eye on in EB01. Let's talk about Cavendish. Now, maybe a lot of people are not expecting this card to be very valuable in EB01, and I admit this card is kind of like it has the potential of being a very valuable card in the set, or it could be one of those other cards where it just gets lost in just the shuffle, right? Of so many other really good cards, and this card just gets left behind. But I decided to put this in my list because stat-wise, Supernova, which is really good, right? It already has Supernova has a bunch of good support, and there's lots of good leaders that take advantage about that interact with the Supernova tag. So that includes Red Green Law, and in the future we're gonna have Bonnie, which is gonna be one of those cards where Cavendish is just good in. It's 5 cost, and that's really important, especially in green, because one, if you're Red Green Law, it means that you can play this card using your ability. Two, there is what's his name? Yes, Don Quixote Rocinante. So the 8 cost, the one that not a lot of people kind of think about or play, much less play. If you remember a couple of months ago where the 8 cost Rocinante just rose up in prices, it was because of Cavendish and Bonnie. So the fact that it's a 5 cost means that you can play Rocinante and you can play this, and you get 2 Dawn back as active if your leader has Supernova. So that combo is the reason why the 8 cost Rocinante kind of spiked up in prices. It's gone down a little bit, but as we get closer to the release of Bonnie, I can kind of expect the prices for Rocinante to go up just a little bit. Cavendish as well. So again, really, what this card has like the potential, along with the 8 cost Rocinante. It just needs, like, what's the word here? The right leader and just the right leader, essentially. Because once we have like the right leader for Supernovas, then this card is just extremely good. And same thing with like the 8 cost Rocinante. You just need the right 5 cost, and boom, that card is automatically super good. But yeah, that's just kind of my take on Cavendish, his stat lines, his 5 cost. I think it has the potential of being one of the most valuable cards in EB01 in the future. And yeah, but again, it's all kind of up in the air. It just depends on Bandai if they want to print a really good Supernova leader and really good other 5 cost cards that take advantage of 8 cost Rocinante. Let's continue on with these niche cards that have the potential of being good, and I think Miss Wednesday is one of them. So Miss Wednesday obviously is a Baroque Works card. It's leader locked with its ability. So within Baroque Works, like, this card is just really good, and especially if you're Purple Yellow Croc, you're gonna run this, at 4 copies. And that is one reason why this card could potentially be one of the most valuable. The second reason is just because, Miss Wednesday is Vivi, and Vivi is just a loved character. The fact that it gets a special art in this set means that people are gonna just want this. Even if they don't play it, they're just gonna want it for their collection. And so I think those 2 points give it enough value where It's going to be one of those cards in EB01 that people are going to be looking for. But again, I'm partial to this card because I love purple yellow croc, and I'm going to be playing that deck, and having alternate arts of Miss Wednesday is going to be a must. So if there's other people with the same kind of thinking as me, then yeah, you can definitely see the value of this card. And who knows, again, in the future, if they print more Baroque Works leaders and they're purple, you can bet that this card is going to be a staple in those decks, regardless. So, yeah, that's why, again, a niche card, but has potential. Next card is Shiroshi, and let's be honest, man, the art on this card is just really nice. That a lot of people are just gonna want it, just for collectors, just for collecting purposes. Its effect isn't bad. I think there are a lot of, not a lot, but a couple of yellow decks that do play this because its ability is that when it's KO'd by an opponent's effect, you gain a life. So it's similar to Kiko no Jo, except that the requirements is that it needs to be KO'd by an effect. So not KO'd when blocking. That's kind of the caveat for this card, which isn't necessarily bad. It means like cards like Rob Lucci are not gonna want to KO this. Other cards that KO, like Absalom, is not gonna want to target this. So it'll probably stick on the field, and you can use it, to block an important attack or whatever. Or at best, I think it's just a Hound Blaze kind of bait. So this is I think that's why I think this card is pretty good. Art wise, Shiroshi, beloved character, and effect wise is, it's good. The only problem is that it's just competing for space, and yellow has just a lot of really good triggers, a lot of cards that are just, really strong. So finding the space for a 2-cost blocker might be asking for much. That's the only thing that's keeping this card down, I feel. But again, this card isn't bad, and it's not uncommon for yellow decks to run this. It just gives them an early turn play, I guess, right? And it gives them a almost guaranteed blocker, or again, like I mentioned, at least a Hound Blaze kind of bait, or maybe even a Brooke bake bait. The 6-cost Brooke from black. So that lets you kind of just trash a card, not KO. In that case, Shiroshi's effect would not activate. But again, if they're using those cards to get rid of Shiroshi instead of something else, I consider that kind of a win. So yeah, card is good. Card is good, but competing for space in a yellow deck is tough. And Shiroshi's art, I think, is great. It's going to be, I think it's just for those two purposes. I think this card is going to be one of those cards that people are going to, want in this set, and maybe even in the future. Who knows? We'll see how that goes. Let's go with Viola. Viola, again, kind of very similar reasons as with Shiroshi. It's a blocker. It has really pretty interesting on play ability. The fact that you can choose one. You can either look at all of your opponent's life and then return them in any order. I can see that being very useful in a yellow mirror, where play Viola, you look at all of your opponent's life, and you can kind of arrange them in whatever order you want. Of course, if it's like a Katakuri mirror, then, the Katakuri can still kind of move around their life, but the fact that you know what all the cards in their life are lets you prepare for potential triggers, and whatnot. So I think in a yellow mirror, that's very good, especially if you're a Nell. I think that's really good to look at the other opponents, especially yellow, all of their cards. So that's actually a really good one. The second one is you can turn all of your life cards face down. So this kind of works if you're like a black yellow Luffy, although you're probably not trying to do that if you're playing black yellow Luffy. Unless you're playing like a different style of Black Yellow Luffy, what you're really trying to do is like, use your ability and put out like, the baby Sabos, Luffy's, and Aces, and summoning from your life their bigger versions, and just pumping up your attack. That's really what you're trying to do. You're not really trying to turn your life face down. But in the future, we don't know like what other yellow leaders are gonna their abilities are gonna be. Like, we are seeing kind of a trend where yellow leaders are kind of flipping their cards face up for an ability, and depending if Bandai keeps kind of printing out leader cards with that kind of effect, then Viola can potentially see some demand because of her second ability. So again, this is all just like guesswork, honestly. So speculation. It could be or it couldn't be, but either way, I think just based on Viola's art style, which a lot of people like, I think this card is going to be a card that people wouldn't mind getting from EB01. And the final card on my list, but not the least, definitely is Brooke. I think Brooke is a very, very interesting card that fits Black perfectly, what Black tries to do. And its ability is both a reduction and KO, all in one card. So that is just really good. So on play and when attacking. Alright, so that's on play and when attacking. Those two things is just already really good. Give up to one of your opponent's characters -1. Then KO up to one of your characters with 0 cost. So, like, what is there to say about this card? Like, Moria, Sakazuki, Black in general, with like their Ice Age and other milling cards that can like reduce stuff like very easily. Hina, you just play a Brooke, 3 cost. You're essentially, it's kind of like, it's almost like a mini Rob Lucci, the 4 cost that KOs something, almost. It's almost like that, because like you play Lucci, you're putting down the body and you're KOing something. With Brooke, you're doing the same thing. You're putting down the body, you're reducing and potentially KOing something. You better be if you're playing Brooke, and it's only 3 costs, so you can get it back with Hina. With Rebecca. So this is just a cheaper version of Rob Lucci. Plus, when it attacks, you can do all of that all over again. So it's not just an on play with Rob Lucci; it's when attacking as well. And I think that's just really cool. I think the only reason it's not searchable, right? Doesn't have a Navy tag. Rob Lucci doesn't have a Navy tag, but it has a CP tag, which is, good in its own way. Brooke doesn't have any kind of like meaningful tag at the moment. It's Straw Hat Crew. Maybe in the future, with more Straw Hat heavy like Black cards, it could be even better. But even now, I think Brooke is just really good. It has a counter, so it's not a dead card in hand. You can use it. So I think, all of that aside, I think it has the potential of being really good competitively, and just the fact that it's Brooke, a Straw Hat Crew member with an AA art, like, it just means that this card is going to be it's going to be pretty valuable, I think, for EB01. Even now, I think it's pretty valuable, and in the future, I think it could only get better. I don't think it can get worse. I think it could probably get better. It just depends on, what Bandai prints out in the future. So, but yeah, that's my list for you guys. I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys get really good pulls in your boxes that you ordered or in the packs that you're going to get at your locals. I hope you guys find them in your stores at Target, Walmart. Good luck, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And remember, please like and subscribe.